Most people believe that the smarter you are, the more complex your thinking should be. That intelligence is about knowing more, processing more, handling more. But what if the opposite is true? What if the smartest people aren't the ones who pile on information, but the ones who remove the unnecessary? The world around you isn't built on complexity, it's built on simplicity. A tree doesn't overanalyze how to grow, it just grows. The ocean doesn't struggle to figure out where the waves should move next. It just flows. Complexity is a human invention, something the mind creates to feel in control. And yet, we admire complexity. We mistake complicated explanations for intelligence. When someone speaks in long-winded, over-detailed ways, we assume they must be smarter. But are they? Or are they just masking confusion with extra words? There's a reason why the wisest minds in history have always sought clarity over complexity. They don't add, they subtract. They don't try to sound smart, they aim to be understood. But most people do the opposite. Instead of simplifying their problems, they add layers of overthinking. Instead of finding clear solutions, they get stuck analyzing every possibility. Instead of acting, they keep thinking about acting. Because simplicity forces you to face reality as it is. Most of the stress people experience in life isn't because their problems are truly complex. It's because they're thinking in complex ways about simple problems. The mental habit of overcomplicating everything is what creates mental clutter. It's what makes decisions feel heavier than they are. It's what keeps people stuck in a loop of trying to figure things out instead of just living. But the smartest people, they recognize this early. They don't waste energy on mental noise. They don't get lost in details that don't matter. They focus on the essentials and let everything else go. And when you learn to do the same, everything changes. The biggest misunderstanding people have about intelligence is that it's about adding more. More knowledge, more strategies, more complexity. But the truth? The more you know, the more you realize how little actually matters. The smartest people don't carry an endless list of answers. They hold on to only what's useful. And yet most people are trapped in the opposite way of thinking. Instead of clarity, they collect mental clutter. Instead of simplicity, they chase mental exhaustion. But why? Why does the mind do this? It comes down to one core issue. People fear simplicity because they mistake it for laziness or ignorance. If someone gives a short, clear answer, they're often seen as someone who doesn't know enough. Meanwhile, if another person gives a long, complicated response full of technical jargon, they're seen as highly intelligent. But in reality, the first person probably understands the topic better than the second. This is because the human mind equates effort with intelligence. If something is hard to grasp, we assume it must be more valuable. If something is simple, we assume it must be too basic to be worth anything. This is why so many people stay stuck in overthinking and overanalyzing. They assume the answer can't be that simple, so they keep searching for something more complex. Simplicity isn't about knowing less. It's about knowing what to ignore. Because the truth is, most of what people spend time worrying about isn't useful. They complicate decisions with what-ifs. They get lost in unnecessary details. They spend more time preparing for life than actually living it. And when they finally do take action, it's often wasted on things that don't actually move them forward. But the ones who see through this illusion, they recognize that life itself is already simple. They don't need to overcomplicate success. They focus on what actually works. They don't waste energy proving how much they know. They focus on what's relevant. They don't chase distractions disguised as complexity. They focus on what moves them forward. And this applies to everything. Look at decisions. Most people spend days, weeks, even months agonizing over choices, analyzing every possible outcome, obsessing over whether they're making the right move. But the smartest people? They move quickly. They understand that most decisions aren't permanent. They know that clarity comes from action, not overthinking. Look at conversations. People think being smart means talking a lot, using big words, and explaining things in the most impressive way possible. But the smartest communicators, they say only what needs to be said. They don't try to sound impressive. They aim to be understood. Look at problems. Most people make their problems bigger than they actually are just by how they think about them. They stack on what-ifs, emotional reactions, and unnecessary mental stress. But the smartest minds, they don't get lost in dramatizing their problems. They see the situation for what it is. Nothing more, nothing less. And this is the core difference between those who struggle in life and those who move forward with clarity and confidence. One group complicates everything. The other learns to strip away the unnecessary. One group confuses movement with progress. The other understands that sometimes doing less is the smartest thing you can do. This is the mindset shift that changes everything. Because at the end of the day, intelligence isn't about knowing the most. It's about knowing what to let go of